Hello, my name is Jennifer Saran, and I'm the Volunteer Engagement Manager at the Los Angeles Public Library.
And I'm Chandra Jeffrey, the Mobile Outreach Librarian from the Engagement and Outreach Department. And it is our sincere pleasure to welcome you to today's Your Author series featuring writer Krystal Marquis as she discusses her new book, The Davenports. Please feel free to use the chat box to send in your questions and comments, and they'll be answered toward the end of the program. Also, don't forget to email ecdept@lapl.org for your chance to be entered into an opportunity drawing to win a copy of The Davenports.
We want to thank our generous donors, the Lenore S. and Bernard A. Greenberg Fund, as well as the Library Foundation and our amazing behind the scenes staff for helping the library bring these author and illustrator programs to you virtually. Thank you very much. We would also like to recognize and acknowledge the first people of this land. We recognize and acknowledge their elders, past and present, as well as their descendants. For information on which territory you may reside, check out native-land.ca.
Now on to today's Your Author program. The Los Angeles Public Library is proud to present author Krystal Marquis as she talks about her new young adult novel, The Davenports. This totally escapist, swoon-worthy romance offers a glimpse into an often overlooked period of African American history. Inspired by the real life story of the Patterson family, C.R. Patterson, a Black man who escaped slavery to found his own carriage company and elevate himself and his family to new heights in Ohio society. This debut novel is the tale of four determined and passionate young Black women discovering the courage to steer their own path in life and love.
And here's Crystal. Welcome, Crystal.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me.
We're very excited to chat with you. And if you're ready, let's go ahead and dive in.
Yeah.
So, can you talk a little about how you came up with the idea for the Davenports? In an interview with Publishers Weekly, you mentioned your debut novel was written as part of a dare. Can you share more about this?
Yeah, I can. It was part of a dare. My younger brother is also a writer, and he participates in the NaNoWriMo challenge each year. For those of you who are unaware, November is National Novel Writing Month, and the NaNoWriMo challenge is a challenge to write 50,000 words of a novel in the 30 days of November. So he used to do this every year. Once in a while, I would join him. But I want to say November of 2019, I was stuck in a writing slump. I couldn't find anything I wanted to read. And I had been researching different things online, and I had seen an article about C.R. Patterson. The tagline was the first and only African American automobile company. And I was surprised. I'd never heard of that story. And so I began researching it and learning about his own journey into from escaping slavery to building this empire. And these two things came together at the perfect moment. I wanted to read more about Mr. Patterson's life and his family and what their life could have been like. And then also, I didn't have anything to read. So my brother is like, I'm doing NaNoWriMo this year. So join me, write about this story. And that's how it started. And in my research, I think it took a couple of weeks and very many articles before I found one that mentioned that Mr. Patterson had three daughters. And I think that was the aha moment for me. They had three girls who were growing up in wealth and privilege, but also had this past that their father had escaped enslavement. So I wondered what their lives were like. And that was my first roadblock. There wasn't a lot of information about what their lives were like. There was pieces of Black society and Jim Crow down south making its way up north. So I went with my imagination and some of the information that I thought, and the Davenports is my answer to that question that I had. Like, what was their life like growing up in a time where there were all of these different opportunities that were opening up for Black Americans with the shadow of, great change and struggle that was to come. So, yeah, that's how I started writing. And I would say that the NaNoWriMo challenge gave me my first partial draft of the Davenports. Did have to go back and do a lot of changes, but it was really great to get that pen to paper, so to say, and um, really explore where I wanted that story to go. I learned that I needed outlines. So when I went back to the drawing board, that was definitely my focus. But it was a very great experience and I highly recommend it. The community is so supportive.
That's wonderful to hear.
Mhm.
Wow. Well, I think you answered a question I had in my head. So, how about you speak about your journey as a writer? Like, what
Mhm.
pathway did you take?
Oh, so for me, I had been writing on and off for a couple years before I started the Davenports. And I think once I started writing that, knew it was special. And I went the traditional route. I sent out query letters and I secured an agent. Tamar Rosinski at Context Literary is great and so supportive of my writing. And we went the traditional route. And for me, balancing writing with work was difficult, but a lot of fun. I think it helped me focus more on my writing. And I would say that, whether you go traditional or self-pub or somewhere in between, the most important part is focusing on your story and trying to do the best you can. And I think that will take you where you want to go.
I agree. Thank you.
Yeah. Hmm.
So you did talk about how you were drawn to the Patterson family
Hmm.
and how there was a lot of missing pieces to their story. How else or where did you find inspiration to fill in those gaps? Because there are a lot of historical fictions out there that
Hmm.
do this, but what helped you feel that aspect of the story?
So I think for me, I found a lot of the facts that I needed on the Chicago Public Library, Patterson, Ohio. But when I was doing my research into that time period, Chicago kept popping up. And it was in the midst of the pandemic where I did a bulk of that research and my drafting. And the Chicago Public Library had a lot of their resources online that were readily available. I also used a lot of articles from the Smithsonian and a lot of other libraries that had their materials readily available. For me, I think libraries are our greatest resources. And until my public library closed down for the pandemic, I used to do a lot of my writing there. And so I really relied on the librarians there to pull resources for me and answer questions I might have before I went entirely virtual and online. And I think the gaps that I had, I filled in with other novels that I read. I'm a big fan of Elizabeth Peters, and her Amelia Peabody series starts in the late 1800s and goes until the 1930s. So it was really fun to kind of draw some of that experience of that heroine who's a feminist in her own right and stories that I love. And I think that these girls are learning about themselves and expectations of their family. And I think that kind of crosses any generation. I think when we're growing up, we know what we want and what our parents want, and sometimes that doesn't align. And so a lot of the story came from drawing my own experience of trying to figure out who I am and what I want to do and talking to friends and, gathering that experience to put into the book.
We appreciate that. How do you think your background influenced your writing? And And I
Mhm,
also noticed that in your acknowledgments, you highlight
mhm.
your appreciation for your siblings. So, how did your relationship with your siblings help kind of shape the dynamics for the Davenport siblings?
Yeah, my siblings and I are very close. We plan outings, just the 4 of us, a lot. I'm the oldest, so I very much relate to Olivia as the person who's kind of trying to keep everyone together and, follow more closely to parents' expectations. And I think for me and my siblings, we like to joke a lot, and even though we have our own lives and friends and things going on, we do come back together and share, our experiences and what's going on. And I think the Davenports, they each have, separate relationships between each other. My brother and I, the youngest of my 2 brothers, we share writing, and that's how we connect. And then my other brother, we connect on reading, and my sister and I connect on shopping and going to museums. So I feel like the Davenport siblings are the same. They have these things in common that creates a special bond between them, but then they can always get together and y- share their experience with their parents and just growing up in general and all the growing pains that entails.
So, which one of your siblings,
Mhm.
or do any of your siblings represent the other characters since you say you identify more with Olivia?
Um, I would say I don't think they do. I think each of the characters have a little bit of me in them, and perhaps maybe each of those characters have a little bit of my family in them. So, yeah. I don't think I can attribute one person directly to another, but it's a lot of fun.
Well, I think that my experience was that it was swoon worthy, and I do like, that it's a period piece. But what do you hope that readers will take away from your books? What do you want them to, how do you want them to feel?
So for me, I want them to feel hopeful and also identify with the character's struggle. I think right now, especially when you're looking at Olivia's character arc or Helen's, there's there's this struggle to be who you want to be, and Olivia kind of goes on this journey where she's realizing that Black Americans are trying to keep the rights that they've garnered so far, and she joins other activists to try and preserve that. And for Helen, she's a girl entering a male dominated field. And I think for a lot of young readers and readers in general, if you're trying something new and you're in a space where you don't exactly look like everyone else, it can be intimidating. And I hope that they draw strength from their courage to, press on and follow their passions and not be deterred by maybe some difficulties they'll encounter. And I definitely, in my research, found a lot of parts of history that I had not learned in school. There's a lot of things that I wish I'd known as a young reader. There's a lot of stories of success and entrepreneurship that I think would have made a really good impact on me as a student. So I also hope that it encourages people to kind of look into history on their own if they're not getting that where they are, and just to explore, different achievements that Black Americans made during this time period. I find that a lot of times we talk about the Civil War and then we go directly to civil rights movement and we don't really talk about what happened in between. And there's so much there to learn and draw from.
That sounds like another book.
It
I definitely
might
see
be.
Yeah, well, I definitely see a lot of Olivia there trying to learn more about the pieces of history that were left out of her
Mhm.
education, if you will, and
Yeah.
you were filling the gaps. So I
Mhm.
see why you relate to her
Yeah.
a lot too.
Yeah.
So what can readers expect in the next chapter for the Davenport story?
So the Davenports and their friend Ruby and Amy Rose all made some pretty big decisions towards the end of the book. I don't want to give away any spoilers for people who are still reading or haven't read yet. But I feel that they are looking for love, but then also looking for their own identities. And I think in the next book, we'll see them kind of deal with the consequences of those actions. And I feel like for each of them, new passions, so they want to, follow that. I'm excited to see how the rest of that year goes too. There's a lot of opportunities to see Olivia in action as she pursues, learning more about people's rights. And for Helen being that younger girl falling in love for the first time. And I think Amy Rose has a lot of ambition. Like she wants to open her own business and she's finding some struggles in trying to achieve that dream. And I think it's inspiring to see how she navigates solving those problems as they come along.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Is there anything that you know now that you wish you knew when you first started in your field writing?
Writing. I think knowing my writing style, I experimented a lot. I read a lot of other authors' styles and what works for them and tried out different things. And I stuck to a couple of, different processes before doing what felt right for me. And I want people to be encouraged that it's okay if your method isn't exactly what is recommended or a lot of people prescribe to. I think that, finding your voice is a journey and always listen to your gut and, don't be afraid to like make mistakes and try again. Um, I had I was close to deadline on one of my drafts for the Davenports, and I was trying this new thing and I accidentally deleted an entire chapter. And I was so tired, I didn't realize it until the next day, and I couldn't remember what the chapter was about. And so I ended up writing something entirely new and it worked out. And I realized that what worked best for me was writing late at night because I used to work nights to write in that certain block of time that I know I can be productive and not to try and push myself or stick to you must write for 60 seconds before 60 minutes before you stop and take a break. You know, figure out what works for you and just go with that.
So, how do you find time between your other job and your job as a writer?
Oh, I think I'm still trying to figure that out. So when I first started, I worked nights and I would get home at 5 o'clock in the morning, eat breakfast, and then write for a couple hours and then go to sleep. And when I was editing, I worked second shift, so I would get home around 11 p.m. And I kind of do the same thing. So book two is different. I'm on day shift now, so it's very strange. But yeah, it's interesting. I think finding like part of my routine is having something that's filling so that I don't get hungry and get distracted and end up in the pantry staring at junk food instead of writing. So I usually have something good for breakfast. I bring my water, I bring my coffee, I bring a tea, and I kind of just lay everything out around me. So no excuses. And write for a couple hours and when I find a good place to stop, I don't try and force myself to do more. Just, rest. And I think that was really important for me to learn was to listen to my gut and like rest. Yeah.
So,
That's
is your sorry.
no, that's smart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's smart. What is writing at home your sort of safe space and the best space where that helps you channel your ideas and your creativity?
Mhm. Yeah. So I write mostly at home and I try and write 1 to 2 hours when I decide to write. Yeah, so 1 to 2 hours a day. And I usually take maybe Thursdays off so that I can watch Grey's Anatomy. And then in the fall, Sundays off so I can watch football. But Yeah, so I try and write at least 2 hours a day, but there's always those few days where I'm just exhausted and I can't, and then there are other days where I can write all day and I end up putting in 6 or 8 hours in. So I really just make that commitment to try each day, and I think I learned that from NaNoWriMo. It, like, in order to meet the challenge, you do have to get into a habit of writing every day, and I really attribute that program to getting that cadence. But yeah, I think it's really important to, get your routine and, try your best to follow that.
That's great advice.
Yeah,
But we
thank
also
you.
know that we have guilty pleasures. I heard you say Grey's
Oh, yes.
Anatomy. So, besides Grey's Anatomy, what's
Mhm.
like the last best thing you read, experienced, or felt?
Mm. So the last best thing I read was Live Your Best Lie by Jesse Weaver. It's a contemporary and it's a murder mystery. And I think it's a important commentary on the pitfalls of social media, even though I love social media. Um, and I think the best thing, the best thing I ate recently. So I like to celebrate with macaroons, and I whenever I want to celebrate, or if I'm having like an off day, or if it's just sunny outside and I want to go to a cafe, there's this really cute one that's in West Hartford, kind of close to where I live. And I went with my mom recently, and we got tea and coffee and macaroons. Love the raspberry one. That's my favorite. Although I do like a good caramel. And yeah, that's like one of my favorite things. If you like check out my Instagram, there's like macaroons and coffee like in between all the books I've read in Davenport news.
That's great. I will be a
Mhm.
follower so I can look at all of the wonderful things you enjoy.
Yes.
Sounds super delicious. So, what are some of the current authors, aside from the one you just mentioned now, or even
Mhm.
illustrators that you find inspiring, and why?
So I find, ooh, this is so good. So I think for me, I really find Marie Lu inspiring. She's the first book series I read, or her Legend series was the first book series I read that had the multiple point of views. And I remember I took that out from my public library because the cover was also super attractive. And I started reading it, and I was like, when I got to the second chapter and it was another character, I was like, wait, what's going on here? And I I loved that, and I thought that was really inspiring. I also really enjoy Angie Thomas and Nick Stone, and oh my god, there's so many. I feel like I'm totally blanking on all the authors that I really enjoy. But yeah, I read across the spectrum, so I'll read historical fiction, I'll read sci-fi, I love fantasy. My favorite part of books are the characters and the storytelling. I love a good character arc. I like when people suffer, sorry, and I love triangles. I know it's a trope that people sometimes take issue with, but if you read the Davenports, you can tell that I love triangles and all of the messy romances that come along with them. Um, as for illustrators, oh, I don't know. That one's a hard one too. But yeah, I just really enjoy I see that you're laughing. It's, like, really hard to pick. It's so hard to pick.
Is
But yeah.
It is. Okay, I feel like we're wrapping up soon, but I have
Wow.
another question about
Mhm.
like character development. Okay, so do develop your characters before you start writing the book? Like, do you give them a whole background or profile before you start writing, or does it just happen in the process?
Um, I think I have, like, a good idea. I think that most of it happened while I was writing the process. When I started, I had an outline and I totally veered off, like, a third of the book and had to go back in and like, "Okay, you need to focus, you need to decide what's going on." I ended up writing each character's story as if it was its own thing and then kind of layered them together. And I think that really helped me. But little things about the characters, I think a lot of it happened organically as it was going. So it was really fun to explore that. And I think it's really interesting that they surprised me. I would say Ruby was definitely one character that happened as I was writing. When I first started in the first draft, Ruby was actually a rival to Olivia, and they were competing for different bachelors, and they didn't get along. It was kind of a mean girls situation, and I got stuck, and I realized that I didn't really like that. I didn't like the cattiness. So I went back and rewrote Ruby's chapters, and she and Olivia are best friends in the new version. And I think their relationship is one of my favorites throughout the story. I just love how supportive they are of each other and how they kind of grew as sisters, Ruby being part of their family and being so close. And I really love that. And she's such an impulsive character that sometimes I was writing different scenes and I just like made a split second decision. I really feel like she made the decision. And I'm like, oh no, what are you doing? Like now I gotta write you out of this trouble. Like what's going on? But yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I really think that a lot of it was coming together on its own as I was going. Yeah.
Definitely like Ruby. I love the drama. It's just, it's
Hmm.
wow. I actually can't see it another way now. Like when you said it's
Yeah.
supposed to be a Mean Girls thing, I do love
Yeah.
the support that they have, and
Hmm.
you know they are sort of one of the only families experiencing the type of lifestyle that they're experiencing. So it can get lonely. So it's nice that there is someone there
Hmm.
for this character. Yeah, I'm trying not to give away a lot
Right.
to the
I'm
readers
glad that
out there.
I'm glad it's not a mean girl thing too, because
Hmm.
Yeah,
oftentimes we see that women don't support each other, in the real
Yeah.
world. So that was a nice surprise. Yeah, thanks.
Hmm.
yeah. So when you were starting to write, did you ever consider writing under a pseudonym?
I didn't, mostly because I think it would have been too difficult for me to come up with a name. I had I but no, I thought about it, but, you know, yeah, I don't think I could have. I'm really proud of the story, and I'm really happy to share it with people, and my family's been really supportive, and my siblings help with the inspiration, and my brother got me into writing, and my mom taught me to read really, really early. She used to take me to the library as an infant, and so I learned to read before I started kindergarten from, like, all our library trips. So, to have, like, my last name, my family's last name on a book was really special. So, yeah, I didn't really wanna think about doing a pseudonym.
Well, thank you for not, because it's
Yeah.
truly a fantastic, introductory novel for you.
Mhm,
Have your name out there and really like elevate a different type of history or historical
mhm,
fiction into, the young adult literary scene, because, we are in need always of diverse characters. And it was so much fun to imagine everything. And, yeah, thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, representation matters. And the fact
Mhm,
that um, readers will be able to identify with aspects of each of these characters, it's fantastic to me. So, your fans, where can
mhm.
they find you? I know you love social media, so tell
Yeah,
us where they can find you.
okay. So, you can find me on Instagram at Christabel_reads. Yep, there it is. I review books that I read there. I share library trips. Um, In the summers, I probably spend every other weekend at an indie bookstore, so I like to travel and find a new indie bookstore I haven't been to yet. So I'll share like my visits. So if you want to see those there, that's one place you can follow me. You can also follow me on TikTok. I'm still pretty new to that, but I'm having a lot of fun. You can find me there at Krystal Marquis, and it's the same handle for my Twitter, which is where I talk about Grey's Anatomy. So if you want to talk about TV shows, you can talk to me about that there. But like, yeah, on my website too. I love responding to messages, and um, it's always like a lot of fun to talk about similar interests with other readers. So yeah,
Thanks. Are you going to talk about some adventures you're going to be having next week, like
yeah.
coming out to the West Coast?
Yes, I'm excited to go to California for the first time. I'm going to be at Y'all West in Santa Monica. So if you are there next Saturday, please stop by and say hi. I'd like to meet you and chat, and you can tell me who your favorite character is and why, and that'll be really exciting.
And since you're out here so
Mhm.
close to Los Angeles, please, if you have time in your schedule, stop by the Central Library. We'd always
Oh,
love to
I
see
would
our
love to.
authors. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
I
you
would
get
love to.
the grand
Yeah.
tour, and we have an exhibit celebrating our 150 years, so you'd be able to see
Oh,
that too before it goes away.
congratulations. Oh, that's exciting.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's wonderful. So what's
Yeah.
next for you?
Next for me is writing book 2 for the Davenports. I'm really excited to be back in that story and continuing to promote it. So I will be sharing other places that I'll be traveling to, and I hope to see people when they're out and about. I love talking about the story and learning about people's favorite characters. And yeah, I'm just excited to keep going.
Can I ask how many books you have in mind for this series?
Oh, I don't know. As many as I can, as many as I can get in. But yes, one more for sure. And I'm excited to hopefully keep going. Yeah.
Well, we're excited for the next one
Mhm.
already.
Thank
And
you.
if we don't have any questions, I have a question.
Mhm.
Who are you most excited to meet at Y'all West? Do you
Ooh.
like geek out over any other authors?
Oh, yes. I geek out over all of them. All of them. I went to the North Texas Book Festival, was it last month or the month before? And I was just like spinning around, like I didn't know who to talk to first. And it was just, it was overwhelming in the best way. And having the opportunity to like go up to talk to people and ask them about their writing styles. When I did the author signing, I was sitting next to Tori Maldonado, and he just had me laughing the whole time, and it was so much fun. So yeah, I'm excited. I think I'm just gonna fangirl the whole time.
Oh, wow. So I'm
Mhm.
checking our comments. I don't see any questions right now from our audience. Sandra, do you have any more burning questions you'd like to ask Crystal?
If you give me a second, because I don't want to give any spoilers either, even though I'm halfway
It's
through.
Yes, it is so hard to not ask you so many questions
You know what?
and give away spoilers.
I do have a
Mhm.
question because the cover of this book is so
Mhm.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
this is Olivia in the front, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And the three in the back, are these Ruby, Amy Rose, and okay. Because
Yeah.
when I see the whisper, it made me think of the people on the street that would whisper
Ah.
and talk
Mhm.
about the Davenports. So yeah, but the book, how much say do you have in the illustration or what the book jacket's gonna look like? Because people do
I
judge
feel.
books by the cover.
Mhm. I feel like I got a good amount of say. I got a lot of different ones to choose from and to look at. I got to give comments on how they looked and the quote that was used. So that was a lot of fun. When I got the arcs, it was a very matte yellow. So it was beautiful and I was excited. And I really loved how it was monochromatic. But when I got the final copies and I opened up the box and it was reflective, it was, like, right underneath a light, and it was just, like, shining gold out of the box. That was a wonderful surprise, so I can't believe they kept that a secret from me, but it was a wonderful surprise. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful cover. And so for
Mhm.
all of you out there, you should definitely remember to email us and put your name in for an opportunity drawing to win this beautiful, beautiful book by Krystal Marquis. Krystal, can you tell us, have you gone to any schools yet to do any presentations about writing or your book?
I haven't yet. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to do so. My dad works for the public school systems in Connecticut, and I'm looking forward to, participating in some of the events that they have. I haven't yet, but I'm really looking forward to doing one soon.
I have another question actually. Do you think you're going to use
Um,
the is it NaNoWriMo um, again to help you kind of just focus and write the second book or maybe more?
I think so. I think so. I think I might join Camp Nano when it starts up again in June to help me polish some edits off. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I love that you get to talk to other writers. It's always so fun to open your inbox and see some inspiration from another author who's been where you've been. So I'm definitely looking forward to trying it again.
So, what would you tell a young reader who identifies with, say, Amy Rose and just feels like
Mhm.
there's no hope in the world? Because Amy Rose, I don't know where she gets her strength from, but in the beginning, I'm just, how can you be so hopeful in that period of time? But
Mhm.
based on what you see around you, but what would you tell somebody who feels like they're just hopeless and they have aspirations and dreams, but have no
Yeah.
way to get there or don't see a way?
Mhm. I think that's the hardest thing to do, right? Is if you don't see a way out of where you are, um, to kind of know what your next steps are. And it's very difficult to say, oh, just keep going. But it's that difficult and that easy, I want to say. I know that I've had some disappointments where I didn't know what I was going to do next. You make a life plan and you're like, this is what I'm going to do and this is how I'm going to get there. And then sometimes it doesn't work out and you have to really lean on the people who care about you and like look at what options you have still available for you. I think for me, it was really relying on my family and my friends and saying, okay, this path is closed. What are you good at? What other skills do you have? And really investing in the things that that make you unique and give you something um, that's unique to offer and really investing in that. I think if you invest in yourself and your strength, you'll find a path. It may not be where you initially thought you were gonna go, but if you're investing in yourself and your strength, it'll take you somewhere maybe better than you expected.
I think that needs to be in somewhere in a book. That was right on, or yeah,
Mhm.
that's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
That could also be said for someone like Helen
Mhm.
going into a field that is, male dominated and not necessarily wanting to shine, but at least being able to participate and be invited to the table. That's,
Mhm.
that's rough. What would you say to, those out there that are aspiring to enter a field that's dominated by, other groups?
Mhm. I would say that even if you are the only person that you don't have anyone else to relate to, maybe, um, you look different or you have different a different disability or ability, I think that following your passion will give you the strength that you need to continue. And I think that sometimes it's hard being that first person or that only person. But eventually, if you're the first person, there's going to be someone behind you, and then there'll be two of you. And I think you can find strength in that one other person and you can lift each other up. I know for me, it was kind of difficult trying to switch from careers. Like I was in EMS, I thought I was going to be a doctor, and um, others, life had other plans for me. And I think following this other passion that made me really happy brought me to writing. And it was my brother who was also a writer. So I think following your dreams will eventually lead you to your people. And I think if you trust in that, you'll eventually get there.
Thank you.
Right.
That
I
was
feel like,
beautiful.
yeah, you
Yeah.
were speaking to me
Mhm.
Yes, me too. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do it.
because there are
Yeah.
journeys at,
Mhm.
at different levels of your life. So it applies.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very much. I just realized I did not get to ask a question about the book, and hopefully this doesn't give it away. So before we move on to our rapid fire questions, I just have to know
Mhm.
for you, how was it writing for the opposite sex? All the drama, all the chaos, because you did mention too that having your family to lean on and support you was great, but then there's the
Mhm.
other side of it too, when sometimes they may be the cause of the drama.
Mhm.
Um, how was that for you to switch around? Because, we know the book stars four, strong Black females. Um,
Mhm.
but it wouldn't be, swoon worthy if there wasn't any love interest there.
Mhm. I'm a big fan of romance novels too, and I think I've read a few of my mom's romance novels, and I was like, "Oh." Not so much the scandalous ones, but I think it's always fun. I think romance is one of those ways that we learn a lot about ourselves and how we wanna be treated and the type of people we wanna surround ourselves with, and it's always fun to, you know, get into groups with your friends. For me, it was like my core group of girlfriends, the 6 to 7 of us, who'd get together and exchange stories and give advice and provide support for each other, and I think you learn a lot of interesting stories about maybe who they're dating. And I think that with some of the romances that I really connected to was a lot of fun to write a romance. And I think it's fun to write about the dances and the parties and the courtship. And I think especially during this time period for Black Americans, there wasn't a lot of stories like that. So it was fun showcasing that.
Yeah, I loved everything, and I wanted to be there at the dances and watch them dance too.
Mhm.
I was there.
Mhm.
I was there, except I would have had foot trouble. I would have
Mhm.
fallen completely. It was so much fun. Oh my goodness.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I could ask questions all day, but
Yeah.
oh wow. Let me see. No. Okay. Great. We're gonna do the rapid fire questions and
Ooh.
I'm gonna I'll go with the first one because I want to ask
Mhm.
this one because we added it at last. Okay, it's gonna be kind of like, would you rather?
Mhm.
So I'm gonna say, would you
Ooh.
rather an Aston Martin or a horse-drawn carriage?
Ooh. Aston Martin. Can I tell you? So part of my inspiration for Helen is me and my dad tinkering on I had a '98 Mustang that used to break down a lot, and then I got a 2006 Mustang convertible that ran beautifully for years, and then started giving me trouble. And so a lot of Helen's tinkering comes from me and my dad tinkering on my Mustang, trying to get her summer ready every year. So, yeah,
Oh my gosh,
I
that's so
think
cute.
driving a car that would be fast and fun. So, definitely the Aston Martin.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, would you rather go to the horse races or the auto races?
You know, it's funny, I think I might have more fun at a horse race. I think Like I pictured the Kentucky Derby, and I feel like that would be so much fun.
Oh, with the big hats and everything.
Yeah, it's the big hats and the big dresses and, cheering people on, a whole day event. Yeah.
That would be a fabulous cosplay day. Go as one of your
Mhm.
favorite Davenport girls or
Oh,
any of the
yeah.
characters from the Davenports.
Okay, it may be a little personal, but may not be. Corset or no?
Mm. No.
Picnic or dinner
Mm,
or lunch,
I
but
think dinner.
dinner.
Yeah.
Let's see. Would you rather? Hmm. Now I want to put one of your characters somewhere. Oh, that might be too much. Okay, let me just go something totally different. Would you rather be a bird or like an insect? Would you rather fly or crawl?
Mm, fly.
Should we expect airplanes the next time around? I'm just kidding.
Let's see what else.
Oh, there's just too many would you rather questions.
Let's
So,
do the elephant one.
yeah.
Well, if you had to hide an elephant, where would you hide it, and
Oh
why
my
would you
goodness.
hide it there?
Oh, I don't know. Probably at my parents' house. My s my sister loves animals. She would know what to do. Like, I wouldn't know what to do.
Oh, what do you find more annoying then? Soft talkers or loud talkers?
Mm, I don't know. I feel like ooh, maybe soft ones, but then I don't know. I feel bad. I feel like that's a hard question. Maybe they're shy. Like, I don't wanna judge someone for being shy. Like,
That is true.
oh, yeah, that's a hard one. I don't know if I could pick.
I have another hard one, or it might be easy for you. If you had to live in a
Mm,
book or a movie
mhm.
forever for the rest of your life, which book or movie would it be?
So some of my all-time favorite books are Jurassic Park, but I feel like that's dangerous. Who wants to live among dinosaurs all the time? And then one of my other favorite books, like growing up, was Alice in Wonderland, which I feel like would be fun for a while, and then might be too much afterwards. So, oh, you know which one would be fun? From the Mixed Up Files of Francis. I for what's the rest of the title?
Oh,
But
Mrs.
being
Basil E. Frankweiler?
Yes. Can you imagine being stuck in a museum? That'd be so much fun. We just visit all the different exhibits all the time, and I'm pretty sure museums have bookstores, so I could still read whenever I wanted. So, yeah.
Yeah, actually, that sounds really fantastic.
Uh-huh.
Oh gosh.
Mhm,
So, who is one person, famous or not, that you would
mhm.
love to sit down with for a long conversation?
Ooh, you guys could probably guess this, but it would probably be Shonda Rhimes.
Hmm?
I feel like her characters are so strong and complex, and it would just be fun to discuss like that process of creating characters that people can relate to and can evoke so much emotion and then have all these stories that really showcase how diverse and interesting people can be. And I don't know, she just writes very inspiring characters, and I love how complex they are. So like that would be a really fun conversation, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Hmm.
I'm
That'd be
curious,
fun.
what's your favorite decade? So, if you had to be entertained by books, music, movies from any decade, which
Mhm.
decade would it be?
This is a hard one. These are hard questions. Um,
Not so rapid fire, I guess.
no. Okay, so maybe the 80s. I feel like that would be a lot of fun. And I think I don't know. Yeah, I think the 80s. I love a good, um, Brat Pack movie or, you know, Madonna and Bon Jovi and I don't know, Queen. Like that would be all fun. Is Queen the 80s? I don't know. I'm probably gonna get in trouble for that. But like I don't know, I think it would just be a lot of fun.
I agree.
Mhm.
So, not so rapid fire. Did you use any music to help you through your writing? Then, if
Mhm.
you like the 80s, I can't imagine 80s going back to the 1920s.
Yeah. So I listen to a good mix of different things. I've One of the things that I had on repeat um when I was editing was Alessia Cara. I like love her music. It's very mellow and it's a lot of like female empowerment. So I really love that. And I am a Swiftie, so I listen to a lot of Taylor Swift. And uh, yeah, just a good mix of, stuff from the 80s, 90s, and now, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I bet the Taylor Swift music really helped with the
Mhm.
love and the drama and the romance there
Yes.
because a lot of her music is tied to that.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with being a Swiftie, me too.
Mhm.
Well, I'm done with the rapid fire questions. I kind of want to go back and see how you. I have a question about the book now. Um, I know this is so backwards, but did you model these men in this book after anybody that you know? Because they are very distinguished, handsome men.
Hmm. No, I think they were mostly fantasy. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I mean, there's something to be said about having like a great dad and great brothers and great guy friends, and but not anyone specific. Just my favorite parts of my favorite people, maybe. But yeah. Mhm.
Wow.
I think that's all I have for now because everything I want to ask is, going to be a spoiler.
Right.
We
Right.
could talk offline.
Yes, I think we may need to. But I guess that wraps it up for today. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope
Oh,
you enjoyed this conversation, Crystal, and we hope
thank you so
everyone
much for
out there
having me.
enjoyed this conversation with Krystal Marquis. And
Mhm.
remember to visit us at lapl.org/events to see more of our amazing programs. Check the Your Author landing page at lapl.org/your author for our next author program, which is Friday, May 19th at 4 p.m., where we welcome author Helena Khoury discussing her book, Sora's She Shells.
We also want to mention that the Los Angeles Public Library is celebrating its 150th anniversary. So please check out the 150th celebration landing page at lapl.org/150 for all the upcoming events and also join the 150th anniversary challenge. Until next time, we truly appreciate all your support. The success of all of our library programs could not happen without viewers like you. So thank you.